Yeah, me too. Looks nice.
Yeah, it's pretty hot this morning.
Yeah.
Oh, Colton, yeah. Colton was a bottle baby goat. Mama, I'm going to be your tour guide today. We just got a couple of rules. Just stay seated while we're on the ride and keep your hands, arms, feet, and legs inside at all times, okay? Hey, we're all set. Hang on to the back.
Thank you.
Ryder, let me see your edge, Dad.
All right, okay, so up here, this is Haley. Can everyone say hi, Haley?
Hi, Haley.
Hello. Haley's our teamster. We call her a teamster because she's driving our team of horses up here. Bertha's saying hi. We've got Val on the left and Bertha on the right. These girls are called spotted draft horses. So they're half Percheron, half paint horse. And they each weigh right around 1,800 pounds. So they're pretty heavy. We do our little pony rides over here.
Wow.
So they're going around today. That's Ruby, the sorrel horse up in the front. And then we've got Dude right behind her. So we've got about 35 horses on the farm. And we use them for some farming, and we use them for our carriage rides. And we also use them for our personal fun. So we're coming down into one of our orchards right now. How many of you guys have been apple picking today?
Yeah.
Not, you guys not yet? Did you guys go picking already?
Yes.
What'd you guys get?
Gala.
Oh, nice. Very cool. Those are really good. So these ones are wine sap apples. Have you guys ever tried a wine sap before?
Yes.
You have in the back?
Yes.
Very cool. Wine sap apples were originally used to make apple wine.
Oh, okay.
They're super juicy compared to other apples. So if you bite into them, juice will squirt about 3 feet out.
Yeah.
And we use them for hard cider, and we also use them for pies and for eating. So we use them for everything. These trees on that side are about 150 years old. So apple trees can keep producing until they're about 250 to 300 years old. So they're pretty cool. Have you guys ever been to Yosemite National Park?
Yes.
Yes? Have you guys been to Yosemite? Okay, so if you go to Yosemite, there's at the very top of the park, the very top parking lot, there's an apple orchard in that parking lot. And you don't really notice that it's an apple orchard unless you ask one of the staff members. But those trees are about 300 years old and they're still producing apples. So, pretty cool. This is our afternoon shift of horses. They're just getting ready to go out for the day. So our horses work a half day and then they get the rest of the day off. So most of our riding horses that we use for pony rides come from rescues or from the local 4-H club, and then they'll give them to us so that they can get some exercise. But a lot of them are older or have medical needs, so it's a good job for them because it's only a couple hours a day, 2 days a week, and they get the kids that are doing the horseback rides, they get assigned a horse for the season, and then they get to work with that horse and learn about that horse and take really good care of them, so it works out nicely for everybody. All right, who here likes pancakes? What do you guys put on your pancakes?
Maple syrup.
Syrup. Where does syrup come from? Trees. That's right. So these two trees are box elder trees, and they're a cousin to the maple tree, and you can actually tap those and get syrup out of them. But in California, they're considered a noxious weed because they grow so easily and they grow all over the place. So you'll see them in Yucaipa, Cherry Valley, Riverside, all over the place, and the landscapers take them out all the time, but they're actually a pretty cool tree and they can be used for syrup. So where's everybody out from today? Where are you guys?
Riverside.
Riverside, there you go. You got box elder trees in Riverside. Where are you guys from?
Whittier.
Oh, okay, very cool. Awesome. Down near LA, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So these trees that we're going through, these are our Macintosh apples. And believe it or not, these trees are actually full grown. So they're about 80 years old. And if you notice, these are smaller, right, than the trees that we went through first. But they are full grown. The reason that they're so much smaller is because we graft these trees, and that's how we grow most of our orchards now. Are you guys familiar with grafting? Yeah? Okay. So for those who aren't, you take a small cutting off of the branch of a tree, you cut off about that much of the tip of the branch, and we call that scion wood. And then you can buy roots from a nursery, and you can just buy straight roots. And we take the scion wood and we stick it to the roots and we tape them together and they fuse and become one, and that's how we get these trees. Versus the really big trees that we had, those are planted by seed. Those are seedling trees. So we've already come through and picked most of these trees out. We have, on the farm, we have about 11,000 apple trees, and we have 8 guys who manage all those trees. So they have a lot of work to do. They're awesome at it, but they have to go through and thin out all the apples, right? So we have to thin our apples so that we don't get too much growth in one area, and so all the apples get big. But you can see on a lot of these trees, you see the sticks sticking up out of them. On a lot of these trees we got too many apples and we didn't have enough time to thin all of them, and so the weight on those branches is just too heavy, so we have to prop them up with the prop poles. Alright, we're coming out into our crab apple trees here. You guys see these little apples up
Oh
here?
my goodness.
Have you guys ever tried a crab apple before?
No.
You have?
Oh my goodness. Chiquititas.
I have a fermented one, but
Can we reach out?
give me 1 second. I'll get them for you.
Oh my goodness, far enough.
I have a fermented one, but
A fermented.
I didn't eat it. We got fermented.
Would you say there was all your trinkets and stuff?
Somewhere.
Put over a little bit.
Put over just a little bit. Yeah, that was it.
Alright, so we are an organic apple farm. We don't spray any pesticides, so you guys can pass these around and eat them. Just shine them up on your shirt.
Thank you.
They do have a little core in the middle, so they've got a couple seeds in there.
Calitas, can you try? One for me.
Alright, and then we're going to go ahead and take off while you guys are doing that.
So bueno?
What do you think? You like it?
Love it.
Really? You guys like it?
I like sour.
Yeah, okay. Yep. Not so much?
Wow.
You can spit it out. We won't judge you.
I'm not even making a face.
Yeah.
That's so yummy.
So the reason that they taste like that is because they have pectin in them, which is a natural preservative. That's what you put in the jams and jellies.
At the end,
It feels like it's drying out your mouth, right? Yeah, that's because of the pectin. So a lot of people think that they love them and they think they're going to taste like cherries, and it's not quite that extreme.
Not too bad.
These are our pineapple trees off to this side. We do pineapple picking in about February. And just kidding. These are pine trees.
I'm not looking at them. I'm looking at the firm. Where's the?
When they get pine cones on them, oh, that's when people really think they must be pineapple. So funny. Cool. No, these are giant sequoia trees. Giant sequoia trees grow about a foot per year. So these trees were planted in 1998, and so they're growing a little bit more than a foot per year. So they're pretty young, but if you like we were talking about the national parks earlier, if you go to some of those national parks, these sequoia trees get to be about 300 feet tall or more. They're massive. All right, who here likes history? Kinda.
Sometimes.
Okay, we'll keep it short. Okay, so in 1878, a guy by the name of Joe Wilshire came up here, and he bought all this land around us. And can you guess how much he paid for that land? Any guesses? 1878.
$325,000.
That's a good guess, but I'm gonna say a lot lower.
I knew
I would
it.
just say 300.
Less than 300.
100.
Any guesses?
$200,000.
Less than $300.
Less than 300. What's less than 300?
Yeah.
They paid him to take them.
Yeah, exactly. No.
200?
Less than 200.
$100.
Less than 100.
90?
Less than 90.
50.
Less than 50. Keep going.
$1.
What?
15?
I'm sorry.
15?
15 minus 7. I'm gonna put you on the
Oh
spot.
my god.
$8.
$8. Good job.
Hold on, I need some fingers.
Yeah, exactly. He paid $8, and he traded a chicken, a saddle, and a jug of whiskey, and he got 3,500 acres around us. So even at the time, we just recently found an ad for land for sale in Beaumont and Banning around the same year that Joe Wilshire bought land. And at that time, they were still selling land for, I think it was $58 an acre. So he did get an amazing deal.
Yeah, that was
Amazing deal.
Yeah, cheap. So yeah, he bought it cheap. So what do you think he started planting here first? Nope.
Pine trees?
No, good guess.
No.
They're small and they grow in the ground and they have eyes.
Oh,
You make fries out of them.
okay.
Potatoes.
Potatoes, there you go. So he planted potatoes first here, and he planted so many potatoes that all of Oak Glen was originally called Potato Canyon. And if you guys come up from Yucaipa, you see Potato Canyon Road, and that's what that was named after, because all of Oak Glen was Potato Canyon. So he switched to apple trees about 20 years after he got here because the potatoes just weren't making him any money. Have you guys ever grown potatoes here before? Or grown potatoes at your house before?
Yeah, I did.
Yeah, they're cheap. I grow potatoes and I can't sell them for anything. So that was his problem. So he switched to apple trees, and apple trees really like the cold weather. They need about 1,000 hours of below freezing temperatures, and they like the rocks and they like the water, and we have a lot of rocks and a lot of water, so they do really well up here. So then he sold this 350 acres that Los Rios is on to the Rivers brothers in 1906. So Los Rios Rancho is the Rivers Ranch in English, right? So so they just bought 350 acres, but they started planting 20,000 trees on the property. So they were shipping their apples out to France and to England and all over the United States. They were a massive apple producer for the time. They kept the property for 90 years and were just going gangbusters with the apples, and then they sold it in 1996 to the Wildlands Conservancy. So before the early 2000s.
Lightning.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it was super close.
Wow. Yeah. Sounds good.
Alright, we'll take off, folks. Hang on in the back.
I'm gonna keep talking at you though, so don't think you got out of it.
It's actually good history.
I can talk. So,
There's a thing.
Oh, un rayo.
Oh, hell.
Mira, está lloviendo.
watch out for the mudslides. So they, until the early 2000s, there was no U-pick up here. So a lot of people all come up and tell us, I've been coming here for
She
60
dropped her
years.
hat.
Oh, stop for a second. That's a nice hat.
Wait,
We'll wait for you.
I got it.
Thank you, sorry.
Okay, let's go,
Oh,
girls.
good thing I didn't fall. Yeah, hurry, leave Daddy behind. They can even fall in the poop. Super close.
Okay, good.
Good, thank you. Thank you. Sorry about that.
Oh, shoot, smoking.
So a lot of people will tell us, yeah, we've been coming up here for 60 years and coming and doing U-pick with our families, and that was not a thing until the early 2000s up here. So then the Conservancy bought it in 1996, and they didn't really want the apple trees on the property. They were going to take out all 20,000 and put in all the walking trails. And so they took out about 15,000 trees, and then the community kind of got together and said, hey, this is the largest apple farm in California. If you can please keep some of the trees, that would be great. And so they started leasing the property to Devin Riley. And so now Devin Riley and his family lease the land to take care of the apple trees and the business. And we're right on the border. So if you look behind us, to the left of the fence line, that's all managed by the preserve, the Nature Conservancy, and to the right, that's all managed by Devin Riley. So we've planted more apple trees now, so we're back up to right around 10,000 back on the property. So
What kind of apples are these? These are like just so
these are
burgundy.
plums.
Oh, plums. No wonder.
I'm just kidding.
Like little weird apples.
En rojas, ¿verdad?
Well,
¿Qué
these are,
son? Durazno.
these are called Arkansas Blacks.
Son otra fruta, ¿no?
Yeah, so have you guys ever tried the Arkansas Blacks? No? Okay, they're really weird. They're very hard, and they're like rock hard. So you can leave them in your fridge for a year, and they will
wow.
still be good when you come back to eat them. They're not ripe yet, so if you try to pick them, you'll probably crack a tooth eating them because they're not even ripe enough to eat right now. The pioneers would bring them over on wagon trains because because they were the only fruit that could last the entire journey, and it would help prevent scurvy on the wagon trains. So that's how they got from Arkansas to California.
So this looks like military green.
Exactly.
MRE.
Exactly. So these apples were Walt Disney's favorite apple, and supposedly he patterned the apple in Snow White after the Arkansas Black because it's so dark and ominous. And we're one of 3 farms in California that grows Arkansas Blacks. So for us, they go really fast as soon as they're ripe. They come in ripe Halloween weekend, and last year we had these trees picked out in 2 days.
Wow.
So yeah.
One, you have to be
Yeah, you got to be on time. So keep an
top
eye
of
on Facebook if you want. And they're our most expensive apple on top of that too. So I think we charge those at $5 a pound, $5.25 maybe a pound.
Okay.
And they're about 1 pound apples. So it's expensive. All right, so have you guys heard everything about the steakhouse and the mudslides and all that stuff that happened last
I
week?
saw it on news.
Okay, yeah. So the guy who owns the steakhouse lives up on that hill up there. Can you see the house way up on that hill? Kind of, if you look at the silver tanks and then you look straight up from there.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, that's the biggest house in San Bernardino County, and that whole road winding back and forth underneath that house is all heated. And so in the winter time, he just flips a switch and the heaters come on and melt all the snow off the road. He's got a helicopter landing pad in the back of the house. He's got a trail that he's cut all the way to the top of the mountain. So he's got a trail going straight from his house to the top of Wilshire Peak up there. And then all down the hill, he's got buffalo. That he's got about 200 head of buffalo on that hillside up there. So during the fires, we never evacuated because we always, during all the fires, we've stayed at the building and taken care of the firefighters and given them food and stuff. And so we were sitting right here and we watched the fire go straight over his house. And we all thought his house was completely gone. And then the next day, the sun came up and it was still there. And so what happened was he has these water cannons that come up on the top of his house and they're triggered by heat. And so he was gone and the water cannons came up and you could see it burn everything around his house except for a few trees. And there were no fire crews there, so
Wow.
pretty cool.
Pretty smart.
Pretty smart.
Funny though.
Alright.
Yeah.
Well, thank you guys. We made it back just in time. It looks like it's gonna rain.
Yeah, because you look at it already.
Thanks guys so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Tornado!
Dramatic.
I think it's
Oh my
a
goodness.
tornado. All comes the lightning.